Please let Grandma rest here. And could you bring some water? It was a sweltering day, with temperatures reaching a scorching 110 degrees Fahrenheit. When the doorbell rang, I opened the front door to find my nephew Ezra, carrying his grandmother Patricia on his back. Apparently, 10-year-old Ezra had walked all the way here in this blistering heat with Patricia on his back. The heat and exhaustion had taken their toll. They both seemed on the verge of collapse. Ezra. What on earth happened? Something was clearly very wrong. My in-laws lived in the next town over, a good 2-hour walk. But instead of showing concern, my husband Christopher flew into a sudden rage. Ezra and Mom. What's the meaning of this? This is ridiculous. Actually, Dad and Mom. Ezra pulled a tape recorder out of his pants pocket. To our astonishment, it contained a shocking recording. After hearing Ezra out, Christopher dragged him and Patricia out of the house with a demonic look on his face. My name is Jennifer, and I'm an ordinary housewife living with my husband Christopher. We're both in our early 30s but haven't been blessed with children yet. We'd hoped for kids since getting married, but conception eluded us. We underwent fertility treatments for years to no avail. It was a huge financial burden, and we eventually had to give up. Though heartbroken, Christopher and I had a strong marriage. I was determined to spend my life with just him. Christopher's father had already passed from illness. His mother Patricia lived with his older brother's family. Alexander was a famous appliance salesman, and his wife Olivia had been on TV as a cooking expert. They both had flashy backgrounds. Alexander and Olivia had a grade school-aged son named Ezra. We didn't see Patricia or Alexander's family often, but not having kids ourselves, Christopher and I doted on our nephew Ezra. A family funeral brought us together with Alexander's family, including Ezra, for the first time in years. Ezra, it's been a while. Look how big you've gotten. You really have changed, quite the young man now. How have you been? Ezra had grown much taller since we last saw him. He smiled shyly at our comments. Well, I have some things to help with. After a brief hello, Ezra left. He seemed busy helping his mom bring out dishes for the funeral. I guess now that he's in grade school, he's not as attached as he used to be, Christopher murmured wistfully. Ezra used to greet us with carefree smiles, but his grown-up demeanor made Christopher a little sad. Still, we were both happy to see him maturing. Oh, that reminds me, where's Patricia? You're right, I haven't seen her. I wonder what's up. Patricia still hadn't appeared when the funeral started. When I asked Alexander, he said, she's not feeling well. Just a cold. She's resting at home, no worries, Olivia added nonchalantly. Still, I'm concerned. Maybe we should visit after the funeral. No need to go out of your way. I said it's just a cold, didn't I? I'm taking care of her, so you just leave it alone. Olivia snapped. Her intensity made me back down, but I was still worried since we hadn't seen Patricia lately. Alexander and Olivia's adamant insistence not to worry felt off somehow. Actually, They acted strangely the whole funeral. They seemed to dislike Christopher and I talking to Ezra, grimacing whenever we tried to strike up conversation with him. "So Ezra, how's school? Do you like studying?" "Well, Ezra. What are you doing? Hurry up and help out," Olivia barked. I thought I was imagining it at first, but Olivia would blatantly shoo Ezra away anytime Christopher or I spoke to him. I tilted my head in baffled confusion at her bizarre behavior. "We're strict with him as part of our parenting approach. I'd appreciate it if you didn't coddle him. I told him to help with funeral tasks, so don't interfere," Olivia scolded me, face contorted. "I'm sorry, I didn't know." "Humph. I guess you wouldn't understand, not having kids yourself. Anyway, just leave Ezra alone, alright? Hey, there's no need to talk to her like that." Christopher bristled at Olivia's barbed words. I hastily held my husband back and apologized to Olivia. "I'm sorry, we'll be more mindful. It's just that we love Ezra too." "Huh? You're basically strangers. Don't meddle in someone else's family." With that parting shot, Olivia stalked off. What's her problem? How rude can you get? Christopher was usually mild-mannered, but tended to lash out at unreasonable behavior like this. I tried to soothe my irate husband. "She's probably just stressed from funeral preparations." But he wasn't convinced. "Hey bro, is there some issue with us interacting with Ezra?" "Your attitude sucks," Christopher confronted his brother Alexander directly. "Huh? Pretty high and mighty considering we're the ones taking care of Mom. Don't get cocky." But talking to him was equally fruitless. Christopher and I were both perplexed by the couple's cagey demeanor, as if they were hiding something. The oppressive mood persisted for the rest of the funeral until we left. Ezra's expression was gloomy as he diligently helped out. Patricia never did make an appearance. We went home still harboring unresolved frustrations. A month passed after that funeral. I happened to have an errand near my in-laws that finished early. I decided to buy some snacks and check in on Patricia and Ezra. "Hello. It's Jennifer." "Patricia, are you home?" "Aunt Jennifer." Alexander and Olivia seemed to be out at work, but Ezra, back from school, welcomed me in. "What brings you here all of a sudden?" "Mom and Dad are at work right now." Though surprised by my unexpected visit, Ezra served tea with practiced ease. He seemed thoroughly disciplined, but almost too mature for a child. I had business nearby and thought I'd drop by. "Here, I picked this up at a cake shop on the way." I handed Ezra the cake box I'd bought en route. "You and Patricia both love sweets, right? Enjoy it as a snack." "Oh? Where is Patricia?" About Grandma, well. Just like at the funeral, Patricia was nowhere to be seen. When I asked Ezra where she was, he avoided eye contact and stammered. Suddenly, a breeze blew in from the back of the house. A window must have been open for ventilation. The wind carried a foul odor, like that of a stray dog. "Hey, What's that smell? Ezra flinched at my question. I knew Patricia's room was in the back. Peering in that direction, I saw a tightly shut door at the end of the hall. A bad feeling rose in my gut, prompting me to casually stand and head towards Patricia's room. No. Mom said not to open that door. Ezra frantically blocked me, looking terrified. His expression convinced me something serious was going on. Okay, I'm sorry. I shouldn't enter someone's room without permission. Stopping my reach for the door, I returned to the living room. Ezra was visibly relieved. When I asked about Patricia's whereabouts again, he claimed she'd gotten over her cold and was traveling with friends. But his averted gaze told me it was a lie. No matter how much I pressed though, Ezra refused to say more. Sorry, Auntie, I have to go do the cleaning and laundry now. After a while, Ezra stood to leave. You're doing the housework? Yes. It's my job since Mom and Dad are busy. What about dinner? I just eat whatever's in the fridge. That's terrible. Don't your parents come home? My stern tone made Ezra clam up, as if regretting having said too much. His reaction solidified my conviction that something was going on in this house. Listen, Ezra, contact me anytime if something happens, alright? I jotted down our home address on a memo pad and handed it to him. Ezra took it with a silent nod. As I left, my eyes drifted to the back room again. I had a feeling someone was in that foul-smelling room. Could Patricia be locked in there, unable to get out for some reason? 3 days later, the unthinkable happened. Christopher and I were enjoying a rare day off together when an unexpected visitor arrived. Ezra. What on earth happened? Opening the door after the intercom buzzed, we found Ezra carrying Patricia on his back. My in-laws lived in the next town, a good 2-hour walk away. Apparently 10-year-old Ezra had walked here in the sweltering heat with Patricia on his back. I hurriedly ushered them inside. Please let Grandma rest here. And could you bring some water? The heat and exhaustion had nearly caused Ezra to pass out. Patricia was panting raggedly too. The morning news forecast a scorching high of 110 degrees Fahrenheit today. It was clearly an emergency for them to show up like this. What's going on? Why are you here in this state? This is ridiculous. Christopher shouted, baffled by the incomprehensible situation. Honey, calm down. Let's get them to the hospital first. Christopher hauled a nearly collapsed Ezra outside and to the car. He started the engine and loaded Ezra and Patricia in. They obviously have heat stroke. What the hell are those two doing? How did this happen to them? Those two, Christopher referred to, must be Alexander and Olivia. The strange behavior at the funeral, the foul smell in their house, Ezra coming for help in this heat, something was definitely going on. On the drive to the hospital, I gave Ezra and Patricia water and wiped their sweat with a towel. Patricia was still out of it, but thankfully Ezra had recovered enough to talk. Actually, Dad and Mom. According to Ezra, about 6 months ago Olivia stopped cooking meals and Alexander started locking him out on the balcony. When he got home from school, They forced him to do chores and berated him if it wasn't up to par. They started mistreating Patricia the same way, tying her to the bed so she couldn't leave her room and blasting the heat in the middle of summer. The stench in their house was indeed coming from Patricia's room. Denied even showers, she was imprisoned there. In the daily 100-degree F+ temperatures, it must have been hellish. Dad and Mom suddenly said they didn't need to be nice to Grandma anymore. "What do you mean by that?" I asked. Ezra pulled something out of his pants pocket. It was an old tape recorder. "Grandma gave this to me a while back. I kept it because it was fun to play with, like a toy." "Uncle, Auntie, listen to this." Ezra pressed play. We heard a conversation between Alexander and Olivia. "I got her to make me the insurance beneficiary, so we don't need Mom anymore. Putting up with taking care of your mother was worth it. Ugh, I wish she'd hurry up and get sick already." "Oh, I know, lock her up with the heat on and she'll get heat stroke." "Should we try that?" "Ooh, now there's an idea. Let's do it." Hearing their exchange made my stomach turn. Those two neglected Mom this whole time, then suddenly offered to care for her. I knew something was fishy. Christopher's face twisted bitterly. A few years ago when my father-in-law passed and the family gathered, it was Alexander and Olivia who volunteered to look after Patricia. At first they treated her kindly, but it was a ploy to gain her trust and get themselves designated as beneficiaries on her insurance. After making Alexander the beneficiary, they put their plan to end Patricia's life into action. So that's what it was. Damn it, if only I'd realized sooner. Normally mild-mannered Christopher was seething. Now we understood why Alexander and Olivia had locked Patricia up. They were purposely worsening her health to cash in on the insurance. Reeling from these revelations, we arrived at the hospital. Christopher carried a wobbly Patricia inside to be examined. The doctor diagnosed her with severe heat stroke and malnutrition. She had to be admitted. A lack of proper meals had weakened her and staying in that stifling room had taken its toll. Ezra got by with just a quick 4-drip and was cleared to go home. We left Patricia in the hospital's care and departed. Exhausted, Ezra snoozed in the back seat. Seeing his innocent sleeping face made my heart ache. Not just Patricia, but Ezra too had suffered horrific treatment. Mature as he was, he's still only 10. No child deserves that. Those bastards. I'll never forgive this. They'll pay dearly. I glanced at Christopher gripping the steering wheel, his sentiments matching mine. As he said, what they did was unforgivable. Christopher and I resolved to build an airtight case against them and bring them to justice. To prepare, I made a phone call to a certain place. The person on the other end listened intently and asked for more details. Ezra had provided the trump card we needed to bring them to justice. Taking that tape recorder, we headed to meet the person I called. After finishing our business there, we got back in the car and drove to Alexander and Olivia's house. "You too. You're the ones who took Mom and Ezra. What the hell are you thinking?" Alexander stormed over, shouting angrily when he spotted us. You're the crazy ones. Why did you do that to Mom and Ezra? Christopher glared back defiantly. What are you talking about? The kidnappers have some nerve acting self-righteous. Kidnapping? No. Ezra came to our house of his own free will. It took courage, but he was trying to protect his grandma. A 10-year-old walking 2 hours in this heat is not normal. Ezra. What were you thinking, running off like that? This happened because you stuck your nose where it doesn't belong. Ezra flinched at his mother's furious voice. I stopped Olivia as she tried to grab Ezra's hand, her face a mask of rage. Stop it, can't you see that Ezra doesn't want to? More importantly, shouldn't you be worried about your child's health first? Ezra nearly had a heat stroke. Huh? What are you going on about? You're not even his mother. This doesn't concern you. Says the woman who can't even have kids. Olivia openly mocked me. Normally I'd let it slide to keep the peace, but not today. I couldn't back down. You're right, I'm not Ezra's mom. But I can't send Ezra back to you. You're unfit to be a mother. As I spoke, Ezra left Olivia's side to hide behind me. Ezra! What are you doing? Get over here right now. No. I'm not going back to Mom and Dad anymore. For the first time, Ezra outright rejected his parents. Hearing this, Alexander and Olivia grew even angrier. You ungrateful brat. Who do you think raised you? You treated me like a slave. I hate you. Ezra sobbed, yelling accusations at his mother. His attitude made it clear he'd suffered horribly. You two put him up to this, didn't you? How dare you take my child and pull this crap? Shocked at being spurned by her son, Olivia redirected her rage at us. I'll sue you for kidnapping, just wait. Their hysterical shrieks were loud enough for the neighbors to hear. But I couldn't falter now. Patricia and Ezra's lives were at stake. You're the ones who'll be sued. We know everything you did to Patricia and Ezra. Huh? We didn't do any dash. Don't lie. They tried to play dumb, but their demeanor was clearly shaken. You two are the reason they're so frail. This is straight up abuse. Ha! Spewing accusations with no proof. Alexander had the gall to laugh, claiming we lacked evidence. Olivia snickered beside him. Too bad, but we do have proof. This. I pulled out the tape recorder from my purse. What's that? Empty threats won't work. They still looked smug. But that smugness would soon vanish. I played their conversation from the tape recorder Ezra gave me. Hearing it, the color drained from their faces. They never dreamed they'd been recorded. When did you, how? Ezra bravely got evidence of your scheme. Ezra did. Damn brat. Give me that. Alexander lunged at me. Let go. He was desperate to take the recorder, using immense force. I resisted but couldn't overpower him. He wrenched it from my grasp. You'll pay for interfering. I won't forgive this. Christopher stepped between me and Alexander's murderous glare. Stop adding to your crime. Don't you dare hurt my family. I held Ezra protectively, backing away from Alexander. You ruined my plan, you bastard. Alexander raised his fist to punch Christopher. Hey, cut it out. But then someone intervened. Why are the police here? Alexander and Olivia were thrown by the officer's sudden appearance. I had called them in advance. They must have deemed it an emergency, acting immediately on my report. This is a misunderstanding. We didn't do anything. That's right. Ezra, tell these people nothing happened. Say it. Olivia pleaded desperately. But Ezra turned to the officer and said, Mr. Policeman, they put Grandma in the hospital. Please arrest them. Ezra. You'd betray your own parents. Take that back right now. We're innocent. They shrieked denials of their misdeeds. Wait, if I break this. Alexander took the tape from the recorder I'd been holding and smashed it on the ground, crushing it under his heel. The tape shattered. He cackled triumphantly. What now? No evidence. We're innocent. The tape was indeed too mangled to play. But Alexander and Olivia were forgetting one thing. Unfortunately, that's not the only copy of the recording. What? What do you mean? Sorry you went to the trouble of destroying it, but we already made copies of that audio. Breaking this tape doesn't get rid of the evidence. We had submitted copies of the tape's contents to the police. Then, we're going to jail. You'll have plenty of time to reflect. They were hauled into the patrol car, resisting to no avail. They kept crying and insisting they were innocent until they were out of sight. But the police wouldn't go easy on them even if they denied it. With the irrefutable evidence from the tape recorder, convicting them would be simple. Is it over? They won't take me away again. Ezra looked up at me, his expression anxious. That's right, it's okay now. I won't let anyone hurt you ever again, no matter what. I hugged Ezra tightly as I said it. Afterwards, the police conducted a search of my in-laws' house. Their investigation revealed the harassment and imprisonment of Patricia by Alexander and Olivia. The couple was arrested on charges of unlawful confinement and neglect by a guardian. During police questioning, Alexander and Olivia confessed to appallingly selfish motives. Putting on a friendly face in public was so stressful. Just seeing Ezra's face irritated me, so I did it out of frustration. I figured if we locked Mom up, she'd eventually waste away and we'd get the insurance money. Apparently their crimes were motivated by insurance fraud and taking out their stress on others. If Ezra hadn't mustered the courage to act then, the worst could have happened. Alexander and Olivia's arrest made major headlines. The media coverage escalated daily, with reporters even sniffing out Alexander's secret office affair. Allegedly, as soon as he got Patricia's life insurance payout, Alexander planned to ditch Olivia and Ezra to remarry his mistress. Olivia, for her part, tried to pin the blame on her husband in court. My husband threatened me into reluctantly cooperating. I didn't really want to do those things. Please believe me. Olivia tearfully appealed to the judge, but was ultimately found guilty. Given the severity of their offenses, they'll likely be serving lengthy sentences. Hearing the verdict, Christopher and I both breathed sighs of relief. Afterwards, we took Ezra in to raise as our own. Patricia was so weakened, she had to remain hospitalized for a while. But with encouragement from Ezra, she recovered enough to be discharged. The house where Ezra and Patricia used to live with my in-laws was put up for sale. They said they never wanted to return to that place full of bad memories. Luckily, it was in a popular area and quickly found a buyer. Using that money, we built a new home and began our life as a family of 4 with Patricia and Ezra. The breeze flows nicely through here, Patricia remarked, sipping coffee in the bright living room facing the garden. She had been skin and bones living with Alexander and Olivia, but now her cheeks were full and rosy. Recently she started going to the neighborhood senior center a few times a week. She seems to be enjoying herself and making friends her age there. I'm home. What's for snack today? I'm starving. Ezra came bounding into the living room after school, his footsteps resounding. There's no trace of the grown-up yet listless air he had before. He recently took up baseball. His suntanned appearance is that of an ordinary grade school boy, no matter how you look at it. I have it all ready. Go wash your hands and change first. Okay. He's back to his old self. I'm so glad. Thank you, Jennifer. Patricia murmured happily, watching Ezra. Despite everything, he's growing up to be a fine boy. If Ezra hadn't come to us with Patricia that time. The thought still sends chills down my spine. Ezra has started calling me Mom and Christopher Dad. We'll all watch over him as a family from now on. That's what I vow, seeing Ezra beam that radiant smile as he munches his snack.